so far in 85, but he's a driver of great experience, is Colin Bond. 43 years of age, comes from Sydney, of course, been racing for 22 years and has been a winner in all sorts of categories. Rallies particularly, made himself a big name there, and in the Touring Car Championship of Australia going back to 75, 69 at Bathurst with Tony Roberts in the 350 Monaro, and celebrated his 15th wedding anniversary in the week just gone by.
There's Robbie Francevic going through, and that scrap as Neville Crichton on the inside has taken away that fourth from Peter Brock. Brock is still fighting back though, coming down towards A&L corner, and there's Richards going through. The next now is Crichton, so they are holding down third and fourth. Peter Brock now goes back to fifth place in the Commodore. And in the Alphas, of course, Alan Jones. And a brake lock up there. And Brocky, very, very alert, goes back on the inside. He's going to make Crichton work hard all over again as they head down towards the kink and towards the Coca-Cola loop.
Crichton looks like he might have the legs too. Into the sweeper.
Brock just looking over casually at Neville Crichton, going to make him do it the hard way, out and around the outside. Brock going for the inside line to take it back again. So Crichton, I think, is going to be in a bit of a lather of sweat. He's done this a couple of times today with Peter Brock. Brock using a little bit of the grass as well.
He's using every inch of the road, Mike. He's been all over the deck, and perhaps more so than I've ever seen before.
Yes, he'll be happy if he never sees a BMW again after today, Peter Brock. They've got him working hard. Neville Crichton steers a pretty mean boat and a pretty mean touring car as well.
Blue flag signifies that another car is attempting to pass, and that's exactly what Neville Crichton's doing at the moment under brakes. Watch the BMW here. The torque of the fuel-injected engine coming up to the outside of Brock, which is not a good position to be in as he comes through this sweeper. A waved blue flag suggests that there is a passing manoeuvre. And all the time, the leader, Robbie Francevic, pulling away.
Yes, Francevic leading, Johnson in the Mustang second, Jim Richards third, Brock fourth again now, just ahead of Crichton in fifth place.
This will be interesting. They're coming up on some slower cars. Crichton coming up for a look-see there. Blue flag out, as Neil mentioned. Now Brock is a master of traffic racing. He'll play the best game of billiards you've seen here. He's got to keep Neville Crichton on the outside of him, making Crichton try and make his challenges on the outside into the left-hand corners. A little skatey that time under brakes.
Up behind John Smith in the 1600cc Toyota Sprinter and past Bob Holden. Now Crichton makes the move.
Crichton is now level pegging with Brock as they go down towards the kink to the right. That's where Brock didn't want Crichton to be. He wants him to be the other side of him when they come up to the left-hander, but Crichton's got the life of the next left-hander.
Pumps up his brakes in the BMW, so they're starting to get hot.
Crichton is through into fourth place again. So he and Brock swapping positions on the racetrack, whilst up front Francevic in the Volvo continues to have a trouble-free run from Johnson and Richards. Crichton and Brock. Jim Keogh in the Fox FM Commodore is in sixth place.
Up to the left-hander, the hairpin again.
I tell you what's not a bad performance there, fellas. The little Toyota behind, 1.6 litres, 1600cc. A marvellous job to be tagging in there as well as it is.
Crichton, car number 31.
Very gentle on the car, Neville Crichton, and in fact has been the New Zealand Endurance Champion 1982 and 1984. Has that ability to nurse a car. And has now opened up some space between himself and Peter Brock.
Yes. That's the largest the gap has been. Meanwhile, Dick Johnson, car number 17, still running second on the road behind the Volvo.
And look at the determined set of Dick Johnson's jaw, will you? Very determined looking Dick Johnson still in pursuit of Francevic and the Volvo. Dick, are you getting any closer?
Sometimes you think you are, but I think it must be a bit of a fairy tale. You keep looking at things, but nothing seems to happen.
Getting in among the traffic too now, Dick.
Yeah.
Dick Neil Crompton, how are the brakes holding up?
They're pretty good, mate. I'm just pumping them up to make sure I got a good pedal, because I'd hate to go off the end of that straight at a minute mile an hour. You never know where you might end up.
You'd knock off a few sheep, mate.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And that stuff's a bit slippery when you get on it. Not only the grass either.
I tell you what, you were talking about Brock being kept busy. The two BMs have been giving him a torrid time, mate. You've got it pretty good at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment, mate, we've still got about 15 odd laps to go. So we'll just wait and see what happens.
Francevic has just got past Jim Keogh. Now Keogh is in sixth place and has been lapped by Robbie Francevic. And say what you will, a lot of people have said, yes, it goes fast in a straight line, the Volvo, but it can't handle. And whilst it does get a bit tail out at times, particularly coming up through over the hump and through the A&L bend, it's not doing a bad job.
It's terrifying to think that they're still claiming to be quite handicapped at the moment by tyres, and they're expecting their good radial tyres in from Italy sometime next week, and that'll give the car something like an extra second. So if the Volvo gets any quicker, it's going to be a real nightmare. And the interesting thing is, they were saying before, early in the weekend, they wouldn't go to Western Australia unless they got a good result. But I would suggest now that there's some points on the board for Robbie Francevic that we'll see them over in the West.
Well, they're certain to go now. I'd say Brock is also going west, as is Dick Johnson and the BMWs. So they're going to have a big round at Wanneroo as well. But at the moment, there are only 5 cars on the front-running lap. Race leader, Robbie Francevic, with a margin of 6.5 seconds over car number 17, Dick Johnson's Mustang. That margin hasn't changed terribly much in the last 7 or 8 laps. Third place getter, Jim Richards in the first of the BMWs, then Neville Crichton in the second of the black BMs, and Peter Brock in the 05 Commodore. They're the only 5 on the front-running lap.
The crew assisting the leader at the moment, Robbie Francevic, this weekend is Les Small and the boys who used to look after Alan Grice in the STP team. Les has got the car at his workshop now, and they've made quite a number of changes. That's Les on the right-hand side. In the background there is Steve Harrington's dad, who Steve, in fact, has gone to Europe this year for European Formula 3, so Ian Harrington looking on. They were, in fact, in the same team, and they've really found some pace in this motor car. And he said this morning that he believes the car is around about 80 kilograms overweight. So if you can pull this car down another 80 kilograms and get another second out of tyres, then, as Howard Marsden suggested to me earlier in the week, then I think this could well be the car to catch.
And they've got another engine that they'll be eligible to run very shortly.
They've got 2, in fact. One of them is water injected, and the other one is being developed for the 1985 European Touring Car Championship. The Generation 3 engine, which is the latest of them for this year's championship overseas, produces something like an additional 40-odd brake horsepower. Now, apparently, the homologation for the new engine is already through in Europe, and so it's really just a case of taking delivery of it rather than having to wait until August 1 like the rest of the competitors. So things looking good for Volvo.
Well, if the Volvo continues to put the performances on the board in the Touring Car Championship, I don't think it's going to be too long before a lot of other drivers are looking at Volvo for the ATCC. Robbie Francevic, new name to motorsport here in Australia, but certainly well known in New Zealand. 42 years of age, been in racing for 27 years, so he's no spring chicken. Driving the Volvo 240T, former New Zealand Saloon Car Champion.
To run in the European Touring Car Championship, but Francevic, in fact, running, I think, Commodores last year in New Zealand. Coming up now to the back of Mike Meniere's Volvo 360.
One extreme to the other. And there's the hand out the window again, Meniere. He'd have to take a muscle building course.
Keep in mind the Touring Car Championship is broken up into classes. We'll deal with those during the telecast this afternoon. But Robbie Francevic at this stage running away, 6.5 seconds the gap. 62, Dick Johnson in the Ford Mustang, and running third on the road is Jim Richards in the BMW.
That's Jim Keogh, a man who always observes the legal niceties, being a solicitor, but on the racetrack he can take the rough and tumble with the best. He's in 6th position on the track at the present time.
And he has a very alert Jim Richards coming up to put a lap on him in car number 62. Keogh, the second run for this Commodore. Ran it at Sandown, of course. Qualified much better here at Symmons Plains. And around the outside goes Jim Richards in 62.
He's been on the wrong side of the law in the last couple of race meetings, because at Sandown the car was found to be drastically underweight, which was rectified, and yesterday they found the suspension on the Commodore to be illegal. As we look here at the Premier of Tasmania looking on at the activities here at the Australian Touring Car Championship, and I had a brief word with him before when I was down in the pits and enjoying his motor racing greatly.
So tell you what, Keogh's about to be under challenge from Alan Jones very shortly too.
Well, the long and the short of yesterday's drama was, after having what in actual fact was Group C mounting points for his suspension, they have mounted the car suspension back to its standard pickup points, and before the next round they'll have to go to make full advantage of the Group A pickup points. So the suggestion from the Confederation is that James will not want to do anything wrong the third time round.
Well, the only other Commodore from Peter Brock that's running in the early stages of the Australian Touring Car Championship, Jim Keogh. As I said before, we expect quite a number of the Commodores to hit the track next month. New one being prepared in Sydney by Steve Masterton, Terry Finnegan.
This one here,
5 laps remaining in the third round of the championship.
This one here is the ex-Clive Benson Brown body shell, which I only found out yesterday. It wasn't a brand new car that they built up, they just modified it.
Jim was lucky to find it still in one piece.
So Jim Keogh still trailing. There's Neville Crichton coming in behind him.
Neville's actually closing that gap now.
He is on teammate Jim Richards. So Richards still running comfortably after passing Brock. And Francevic still increasing his lead at the front of the field. Dick Johnson in second place. Well, there's a good scrap on here. We'll just wait till they come up to the hairpin. Keogh and Neville Crichton. This is quite interesting actually, because Crichton has closed the gap considerably on Jim Richards, and here he comes up the outside. So Richards might have a problem. Oh, Keogh straight across to give the run to the corner for Jim Richards. But Neville Crichton has closed up, as you can see, right on the bumper, and in fact has gone through. So Crichton in number 31 has been the sleeper in this race now.
He certainly has. He seems to be quite a slow starter. I was down next to the starting line right at the beginning of the event and got a pretty bad sort of a start. Dropped the clutch pretty nastily, but has worked his way back through. And I think that Richards, in fact, Mike, may be in trouble, because the car now falling well away from this dice, and that's allowing Peter Brock to get a little bit closer.
Yes, Brock on Richards as Crichton moves up. For Richards in 62, Crichton a little taily coming out of that corner, up over the kick, and there's Peter Brock also starting to make a challenge. Dick Johnson, though, still in second place, and he's been trailing the Volvo all day. Any closer at all, Dick, as we move into the last 4 circuits of this race?
Well, you never know, Mike, because I can smell something, and I don't know whether it's the Volvo or me.
Well, it certainly has a turn of speed, but the gap between you has been about 6.5 to maybe 6.2 seconds throughout the race.
Yeah, well, we tend, like, just lining him up with a couple of things here. We appear to be catching him a little bit, but we'll see what happens.
Well, really a trouble-free run for you here today at Symmons Plains. That must give you a lot of heart.
Yeah, I hope it just keeps going for another couple of laps.
Well, the gap's still coming down a bit as Francevic comes up on traffic, so we'll let you stay busy there and talk to you a little later.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Dick. There's the Volvo, Robbie Francevic of New Zealand leading the third round of the Australian Touring Car Championship. Dick Johnson still in second place.
And the gap now 5.2 seconds, so Dick is getting a little bit closer, but one doubts whether there's enough time. As they come around this time, they'll get the last lap forward.
What a great day for Robbie Francevic. Going to put a win up on the board in the Touring Car Championship round 3. Coming up to take the signal, last lap board out at the moment. Dick Johnson and Jess C coming into view as they work into the final lap of this round, and that's the closest Johnson has been all day to Robbie Francevic. But unfortunately, laps are going to beat Dick Johnson in round 3 today. It'll be a very popular win too for Robbie Francevic. He leads out of the turn and works down towards the kink and heading down to the Coca-Cola loop.
Brian Sampson's Mitsubishi Starion off to the side of the circuit there as well. Francevic, 15 points up his sleeve already from his first appearance in the Touring Car Championship at Sandown. But because this is what we call a Class B car, that is between 2 and 3 litres, he'll get some additional points here at Symmons Plains for the win. 28 points will go his way, whereas if a Class C car was to win, which is the 3 litre plus, they would get 25 points.
Here he comes, Robbie Francevic of New Zealand. The race spoiler, the man who wasn't expected to win, coming up to the last corner, and it's going to be a Kiwi victory today in the Touring Car Championship at Symmons Plains. Francevic strikes, the Volvo wins. Second place is going to go to Dick Johnson, and the gap down to 4.17 seconds. So Johnson carving almost 2.5 seconds out of the last lap of the race to Francevic. So whether or not Robbie had trouble or was just backing off. There's confirmation of placings. Robbie Francevic in the Volvo Turbo, the winner of round 3. Second place going to Dick Johnson in the Ford Mustang, and third place in the Touring Car Championship today going to Neville Crichton of New Zealand.